Campeones, campeones, ole, ole, ole. Campeones, campeones, ole, ole, ole. Hey, guess who's back, folks? That's right. It's yours truly, Chris Douglas. I'm back from my assignment. I was on assignment, the seven seas and across the world, or whatever that saying is. Happy to be back. I am joined here by Kevin Mooney. Kevin, welcome.
Hi, Chris. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. How's it going? How are things?
Things are all right. It's a Monday. We just saw the Mets thrash the Nationals,
Yeah.
which was good.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, we're joined by Jason Hamill as well. Jason?
What's up, Chris? How you doing? Welcome
I'm
back.
doing wonderful. Yes.
What was that song you were singing?
Yeah. So Liverpool won the league over the weekend, the English Premier League, for those that are the uninitiated. 20-time champions of England, the most decorated club in England. So I was singing that, we were champions. Liverbird upon my chest. But I digress. Gotcha. We are here to speak to a friend of the show. He's the owner and columnist of Noted Hockey on Substack. He covers the Buffalo Sabres. He is a Oswego alum and a friend of the show. Joe Yerdon, welcome.
Hi guys. I wasn't sure where you're going with the intro there. So I was waiting for a cue that wasn't there.
I'm sorry. And Newcastle fan, I should
okay,
point out.
thank you.
There we go.
Yes.
Yes. But not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
No. It's weird to say. I know you're celebrating the Premier League win. Newcastle happened to beat Liverpool.
Yeah, we'll
the
get to that.
Cup.
Jeez.
Okay.
I'll
it's
give
the
you
first
a
cup
few
in
minutes.
70 years. First
I'll
trophy
give
in
you
70
a
years.
few minutes on that later.
So,
Jeez, let's talk about hockey first. My goodness. We'll get to it.
Being silenced by one of the big five fans here for I don't know how many
big six. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. All right, Joe. So you covered the Sabres. Sabres came super, super close to making the playoffs this year, but just couldn't quite get there. And now the drought is up to 14 years. So how is the fan base dealing with this? Are they still disappointed? Obviously, I'm thinking.
They're pretty sick and tired of it. I'm gonna say they're not apathetic. Sabres fans are very far from ever being apathetic, but they're fed up. They're very over all this stuff.
Can't imagine why.
It's crazy. I know. Being tied with I got to rain on Chris's day again. Being tied with the New York Jets for the longest playoff drought in professional sports is not great. Not great, but at least New York State is owning that. So that's
there you go.
Well, you'd be raining on Dom Izzo's parade, not on mine. I'm a Giants fan, so
see, I always think of you in the Jets helmet, but that's
because there's a picture from
Dom's
college
house.
way back in the day. Yeah,
right, yeah. Where it's nothing lascivious. It's just
it's not.
Chris in a Jets helmet and a Greek flag. So
it's quite funny actually. We'll have to put it up on the socials.
As long as it's clean. As long as it's clean.
Definitely
it's very clean. It's really dumb and silly and fun. So it's all good. But
it's very college.
Yes, extremely college. Although I gotta say the Giants aren't really in as good a spot.
No, God,
either.
no.
So we're gonna get distracted from hockey. The important thing here is the Sabres are bad still. They played a lot better in the second half of the season. It took the team about 50 games to figure out what Lindy Ruff, who was the coach back when we were in college.
Yeah,
they actually were good.
Coach back when they were good.
Yeah. And they went to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, so he came back this year because everything that's old is new again, everywhere. So, and they were wearing the goat head, so it was basically just like the year 2000 once again. But yeah, it's took them a long time to get it together, and they made a gallant push to get back close to the playoff race, but they had dug themselves too big a hole. They had a 13-game losing streak in November that spanned the end of November into December, where they went 0-10-3. That nuked the season, even though that was 30 games into the year, maybe, if that. So You dig a hole like that, you can't get out of it. And there's still some feeling that there, I'm not sure when this will air, but there's still a feeling that there's going to be some changes coming. Something that's going to let the fan base know that they're aware of the problem and they're doing what they can to fix it. So take that for what it's worth.
Well, I mean, if you think they're mad about being out of the playoffs for 14 years, don't bring up the last time Lindy Ruff was the coach when they lost in the Stanley Cup final, because they won't be happy about that either.
Well, here's the crazy part is that's now the glory days. That's like back when things were good, when it was, a rule that lasted 1 year in the NHL that they were like, oh, this rule stinks. We got to get rid of it. That decided Game 6 of the Stanley Cup final, of course, the foot in the crease, Brett Hull, the whole thing. I think they still make Lindy say no goal every now and again, especially when Dallas comes to town, which is awkward because who did Lindy coach after he was fired by the Sabres? Right. The Dallas Stars. So, right. It's
called coach recycling. We'll get to that too.
Yeah. you're going to get another dose of it in New York. I got a feeling there, Jason. So, it's,
we'll get to that at some point.
Yeah. But it's the sort of thing where we've seen these things play out so many times and so many, just over the last, I got here in 2013. And so it's not all my fault. It's just I got here when it started getting bad. But we've seen this play out so many different ways. And the recent years, it's been more like, there's hope. We think they're close. Maybe next year. Whereas, for half the time I was here, it was like, Jesus, they stink. Who's the top guy in the draft? Who are they going to take? But they're poised right now to have the number 8 pick in the draft, which, if you ever want to see a city that doesn't give a damn about the draft anymore, it's Buffalo when it comes to the Sabres, because everybody's so over young guys, even though a couple of the really young guys are very good, but people are just like, whatever, man, just win some games, get to the playoffs. Let's kind of reset the counter and let's figure this out already and quit being the most pathetic franchise in the NHL.
So you said changes could be coming. We don't know what they are right now, but some drastic changes possibly. Does that include maybe Kevin Adams' job?
He'll still be with the team. If he's not the GM, he might become like the president or, some kind of like a special advisor kind of thing. Something where he's, maybe not doing the title job, but he's still there kind of doing the job. But there'll be some kind of like some management shuffling. If you're really down on the team, you'd probably be like, well, the Titanic shuffled some chairs around once before, didn't they? But I have a funny feeling we're going to see some new assistant coaches for Lindy. A couple of coaches had their contracts up after this season. So whether they come back or not, I guess it's kind of up to Lindy. It's kind of up to Kevin Adams, or if somebody else is the GM. It's up to them, I guess, too. But yeah, it's going to be one of those things where it'll be notable, it'll be news, but it'll be like, what really changed here? Like, is it different voices? Is it different? Is it the lineage of who talks to Terry Pegula? Is that different? Like, does any of that change? Which maybe it won't be any different, but listen, we were kind of thinking that stuff was going to happen after we got done talking with Lindy Ruff and Kevin Adams a week ago. And we're still kind of waiting on that. So, Rochester Americans being in the playoffs and being a very good AHL team is probably distracting some folks too.
You mentioned Lindy Ruff. So he just finished off the first year of his second stint as head coach of the Sabres. How do you think the season went from behind the bench?
I think for the first half of the year, there were a lot of games where the mistakes made by the guys on the ice, the reads, the different types of things where, it's maybe not immediately noticeable, but it's, you watch enough hockey, you can pick up on a lot of this stuff and you can see like, where was that read? Why did that guy do that? What's going on? Why are the turnovers? All this stuff. And the reaction from Lindy post games would often be like, I don't understand how they play this way. I don't know where these guys learned these habits, how they picked them up, where it came from, but I got some work to do here, man. Like it was one of those things where you'd see him come in and he would just be flabbergasted by some of the things that happened. And, that really came to a head when Stefan Nason hit Tage Thompson. Really not clean hit at all. Hit him square in the head at a game here in Buffalo, and nobody did anything to stick up for him. Really, like it was, and it was one of a handful of different things like that had happened already in the season. I mean, the first or second game of the year, they're playing in Czechia. JJ Peterka gets his head taken off by Brendan Dillon of the Devils. And Alex Tuck was on the ice, and he's like, I guess I have to fight him, even though I'm not a fighter. So he stands up for his guy, but it's like, was nobody going to do anything? And probably no. And
what's the deal with that? Is there a reason why no one's sticking up for their teammates?
It's you could say this probably goes back to when Ryan Miller got run over by Milan Lucic back in 2011, 2012, and nobody did anything about that, even though he was, the best goalie in the United States, almost won America gold, was, won the Vezina for, as a Sabre in 2011, 2010, sorry. The same year they went to, that he nearly led the U.S. to the gold medal in the Olympics, all that stuff. And Lucic bowls him over, and everybody just kind of stood around and like, whoa, that's messed up. And, listen, I get not wanting to fight Milan Lucic. The guy was a monster, and he would beat anybody's skull in, but like, when it's the best player on your team getting flattened, somebody's got to do something. Jeez. And after that game against the Devils, Lindy was just beside himself, angry, angry about the hit, angry about Tage getting injured, angry about nobody doing anything, angry because we have to ask him about why nobody did anything, and everything that stems from that, because it's been something that's happened over the years here. And that was a kind of a come to Jesus moment, I think, for a lot of the guys in the room. And we kind of got another little bit of that when the Sabres were down in Tampa Bay, and there was this little scrum around the net where Rasmus Dahlin's kind of stirring up a hornet's nest and poking some guys, and a couple of Lightning guys are reaching over the top of the net and punching him. He's the captain of the team, in the face. And the guys were just kind of standing around looking like, hey, cut that out. And Dylan Cousins was kind of on the outside of that scrum, and he didn't grab anybody, didn't get in the way of anything. No, nothing happened. Dahlin didn't get injured, any of that stuff. But it was like another moment where like, nobody's going to do anything here. Like, don't grab a guy. You're not going to put a guy in a headlock. Do something, do anything. And it was a few days later, Cousins was traded to Ottawa. Now, it wasn't because of that. There are a lot of other reasons, why that trade happens. They were changing things up. They wanted to get, another player that they liked to get in there. Wasn't working with Cousins, whatever, all that stuff. But it was just like another thing for like the low light reel, where it was like, why doesn't this team stick up for one another? Why don't they do anything? You watch the Stanley Cup playoffs. Anybody does anything sideways, you look at a guy wrong, and everybody's got a glove in the face. They're trying to rip somebody's head off. Sabres, it was just not happening like that at all. And guys were, not sticking up for each other or any of that. And it was just like, you're just kind of like lost. Like, how, like, they don't have tough guys, fine, but like, you got to do something. And these guys weren't doing that. And it's like watching a team sort of learn how to be a team, but like, this has taken 3 years for this team to learn how to be a team. And it's taken Lindy Ruff being a guy who will yell, a guy who will get in people's faces, and a guy who will upset, the standard in the room, where guys are just kind of like, well, I can just do this. And he's like, the hell you can? No, like, this is going to change, and I'm going to change it for you right now. And that's a big awakening kind of thing for a lot of these guys, because they've never had a coach be that way. Some of these guys have had 4 or 5 coaches since they've been here. And this is the first time they've had a coach that comes in there and reads them the riot act. And it's kind of a necessary thing sometimes. You don't always need like a real hard edge coach. You don't need a John Tortorella every like 3 years to kind of cleanse the room. But this group kind of needed a guy that was going to not going to let anybody have it easy. And it finally got through about 50, 60 games into the year where guys were like, well, either I play or this is going to be a miserable existence. So, yeah.
So shifting gears a little bit into the NHL playoffs, which are underway. This year, 5 of the NHL's 7 Canadian teams made the playoffs. The 2 that didn't make it just missed, basically by a handful of points. While the 4 American members of the original 6 failed to make the playoffs for the first time in the league's history. How close now are we getting to seeing a Canadian team win the cup for the first time since 1993?
I think we're closer than we've been. I mean, well, Edmonton made it to Game 7 of the Cup Finals a year ago, and that's that's as close as you can get without winning it. But I think you look at the makeup of a team like the Maple Leafs, and they're not as fun to watch, which kind of drives some fans crazy. But they're kind of built to be. They've played like a playoff style of hockey, which can burn guys out during a regular season because you play that way for 82 games. It's kind of like, geez, all right. But they won the division. They've gotten a relatively easy matchup with Ottawa, which I say that kind of biting my tongue a little bit because I got to go cover Game 5 on Tuesday. So, Ottawa could just cram it in my face and show me that like maybe they've still got some stroke, but Toronto looks really good. Edmonton's dangerous just because they have McDavid and they have Draisaitl. Winnipeg, Winnipeg got the worst draw in the playoffs because they got a team that was even hotter than they were in the first round in St. Louis, and St. Louis is just like clicking in every possible way. They look terrifying, honestly. So, those are the teams that are probably the scariest right now. So I think we're close. Montreal's gotten a lot better. I mean, Ottawa got better. Those two get back to the playoffs. Calgary was so close to making it, and they look like they were before the season. I think we were all just kind of like, no, it's not going to be a playoff team, and then they missed out by like 2 or 3 points, maybe. They got great goaltending from Dustin Wolf, so that's a team where I'm like, let's see what happens there. Vancouver, I mean, we'll see what happens with Rick Tocchet if he's going to be coaching them or the Flyers or Seattle or somebody else next season. And if Quinn Hughes is even still going to be there, he wants to go play with his brothers Luke and Jack in New Jersey, or wherever they can all end up. I can't imagine New Jersey would be parting ways with those two, but I also don't think they can have the pieces together to get Quinn out of Vancouver because good luck with that. But
can they afford to keep all 3 though? Is another question.
It's. I mean,
that's going to be a lot of money.
It's cool that the
money
3
tied up in the cap.
Yeah, it's cool the 3 of them want to play together, and honestly, Quinn's contract's not too bad right now because he signed an extension like a couple years back, and it wasn't too juicy, if I'm remembering right. I could look it up right now, but I refuse to just to be like that guy. But it's something it's cool for Canada because they haven't won it. Canada hasn't had a cup winning team since '93, and it's cool to see Canada fired up for it, but it's really funny when it gets down to that last team and everybody's like, "Well, we got to rally behind them," and I'm like, "No, everybody else in the country hates that team except for the fans in that city."
We talked about coach recycling. Mike Sullivan was let go by the Penguins today, as of this recording. We've heard rumors that the Rangers are the number 1 choice, that Chris Drury loves him and he wants to go after him. Have you heard anything that this is a strong possibility?
That speculation really sticks out, especially because he's got some history with the Rangers too. He was an assistant there, I think.
Tortorella.
Yeah, that's right. It was with Torts. What a bench. Jeez. It's the connection that makes the most sense. And, now that the owner is paying attention closer to the Rangers, which is good or bad, I suppose.
That's never a good thing.
No, you just want him focused on the Knicks. Just be like,
you don't want him focused. You want him focused on his music. That's it. Just let him focus on his music and pay the bills. That's it.
Yeah. But it's, it was really embarrassing how things played out with the Rangers this year. And that's a room that really looks like was being run by the players. Like the players just had a lot of control over that room. And, Peter Laviolette just didn't push the right buttons or those guys just tuned him out and said, well, whatever, we're gonna do whatever we want to here. But and a lot of that I think falls on Chris Drury too, because he tried to trade Jacob Trouba last summer, and then word got out about it, and that turned into a whole PR nightmare.
Releasing Barclay Goodrow.
Yeah, you waive Goudreau,
Waived him, yeah,
and then he gets picked up. Everybody's like, "Well, good luck buying him out." And then the Sharks are just like, "Yeah, we got it, and it's fine." Like, okay, just a $5 million contract, cool. I guess they had to get to the floor, so hey, whatever. Work for them because the Sharks have some things cooking there, but it's they had that rough start, and then they're saying, "Well, we could trade anybody, including Kreider and Trouba," and everybody's like, what? These are the leaders on the team, man. You're just saying you're going to trade them, and I'm like,
it all makes no sense. But I don't understand how Laviolette could go from 1 year to the next. Like how this team could go under Laviolette, win the President's Trophy. They looked great. He looked perfectly fine as the coach, and now this year, all of a sudden, they're hot garbage. Like,
yeah. It's I think that's the guys leading the team and the veterans that really had to pull their weight a lot more there. Because I think a handful of their younger players really played hard. You look at like a guy like Will Cooley and how, that guy goes 100 miles an hour every game. Awesome player. Love him. Keandre Miller plays so hard. Fox plays really hard. But, when it's Panarin, when it's Zibanejad, when it's Kreider, I think Trouba was kind of on his own, trying to handle all that business, earlier in the year. Braden Schneider was playing with like a horrible injury for months, which I'm like, I don't know what you do there, man, but just tell him to sit down or figure it out somehow else. But Sturkin had a down year too, so like that makes it a lot harder to cover up the flaws. But to go from a President's Trophy winning team to out of the playoffs completely. I mean, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, right? So I mean,
yeah.
That's really hard to swallow. And I'm more shocked that Chris Drury got an extension on his deal than anything. Laviolette getting fired probably should have happened during the season, the way things were going. But Mike Sullivan would make a ton of sense. Bringing John Tortorella back would too.
No.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Absolutely not.
It would be a nightmare for everybody, but it would get everybody in the room.
You think this
like,
team was
crap?
You think this team was bad with? They'll be worse with Tortorella as their coach. You're not going to listen to him.
It's the
I don't know.
Mikey,
Shesterkin might have a
approach.
950 save percentage with that kind of style of play in front of him, though. So
he would. I'm telling you right now, there's no way that his coaching style is just done. Like no one wants him as their coach anymore. He's just not. No players are gonna listen to him. He's too, military for them.
He is as old school as it gets, and I look at him as the type. If Mike Keenan shot his mouth off all the time and was really noticeably loud on the bench, that was John Tortorella. That's John Tortorella because he just upsets everybody, and I have a ton of respect for him because his heart's in the right place. It's just his temper is just bad, white hot, and you cannot get out of the way of that sometimes. I mean, the quotes he was given in Philly right before he got fired, where he was just like, I can't, I'm not here to coach a team to do this kind of stuff anyway. And I'm like, okay, like you are the coach though. Like you do have to do these things. And Briere and Keith Jones are just like, that's enough. We got to pull the chute now because this guy's going to throw Michkov into a meat grinder and we can't do that.
You mentioned injuries. Hockey players are crazy, right? Because I've seen hockey players play with broken legs, spleens coming out of their bodies, and like all kinds of wacky. Like they're crazy, right? Hockey players are crazy.
Yeah, it crazy or dedicated, or they don't want. I think hockey players hate excuses more than anything else. They don't want excuses for anything.
It's the only sport. Like legit is the only sport where that's okay.
I think some of this It's always been a thing. It's not like it just started up one
Right.
year and everybody was like, "Oh, hey, let's just hide what we're doing wrong here." But I think back to when Joe Thornton was with the Bruins and they got reverse swept out by the Flyers. I think it was the Flyers. Was that 09? Or no, it was Montreal. Sorry. They got beat by Montreal, and Montreal was the lower seed, and it's the Habs and the Bruins, like that's blood rivalry. And I think they lost to Montreal and lost in 7 games, and Thornton looked like garbage. He did not look like the guy that we watched all season. And everybody was killing him in Boston. Like classic, pre-Red Sox winning a title, killing guys every time they looked, they didn't do something right on the radio and everything. And
Sports
Thornton
radio,
got
its
murdered.
finest.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Thornton was getting killed by everybody, and they were just kind of like, all right. So then the end of the season stuff comes up, and Thornton was like had some like heinous like rib injury or something like that, where it was like, Jesus, how the hell did you even get up in the morning? Like one of those kind of things. And everybody's like, yeah, whatever. Loser talk.
Suck it up.
Yeah, whatever. And he was traded like a month into the season the following year, and then he won MVP from the Sharks that same season. So I mean, I think back to like what Matthew Tkachuk had last year, where it was like, boy, he had like a fractured sternum.
Yeah, something crazy.
Yep.
Get out of here. Like fractured sternum. I'm laying in bed until God knows when.
Nuts.
Can't breathe. I'm just gonna be like laying there, catatonic, like I
gasping
wish the
for
pain
air.
would stop. Right. And
Yeah.
it's crazy stuff like that. Like who else was it? It was like a couple of their defensemen had like heinous, like Montour and Ekblad had like horrible shoulder injuries and just all this kind of stuff. I think that was like from when they were in the finals a couple years ago. But it was just that stuff is routine now. And I think it really just all stems from these guys hate excuses. They don't want excuses for why they didn't play well enough, because they're just like, whatever, I got to do better. That's the hockey culture brain wiring, and they just play through it and keep going, and you won't hear about it until the season's over. And even then, maybe you won't still, because sometimes these guys will just be like, yeah, well, whatever, it's something else. Like, what was it? The trade the Sabres made this year where they added Josh Norris. They traded Dylan Cousins, got Josh Norris, and Norris has had a horrible injury like his whole career. He had like 3 different shoulder surgeries. Like he's like 25, maybe 26. He's had like just the worst luck. He's missed multiple seasons because of this stuff. And he comes to Buffalo, and he plays hard for like 3 games, and then he's out. And then we don't find out like why he's out. We're just kind of like, he's working on it. He'll be back soon. And then there's 2 games to go in the season. We're like, so he's not coming back, is he? And they're like, well, we'll see. And it's like, okay, well, so we talked to him at the end of the year, and he's like, yeah, I had a torn oblique.
I mean,
when did you have a torn oblique? February. So the team knew about it. They're like, yeah, okay. But from what they say, it's the kind of injury where, if you're not getting it operated on, which he definitely didn't want to get it operated on, I don't blame him. He's had enough surgeries. If you can play through it and everything, kind of works itself out, you can be okay. But he, it flared up again and got bad. And he was like, well, we can't push it. And I'm just kind of like, that's a guy that'll play through like, having his leg cut off, because he's just like, well, I just want to keep playing, because he's been off the ice for so much. Like that's another part of that mentality where, a guy's got like a heinous injury where you're just like, geez, no, I'd be in the hospital for a week. And they're just kind of like, well, I'll figure it out. Sure.
Yeah. Like someone shattered their jaw once, and they're like, just wire it up and I'll get back out there.
Put the cage on, feed me through a straw. I'm great. Okay.
So the Rangers and Ducks are rumored to be interested in speaking with Joel Quenneville. Is Joel Quenneville like actually going to get a job in the NHL again?
It's been trending that way ever, like even before he was cleared to come back. That it was just going to be an eventuality. Like somebody was going to bring him on board, and they're going to have to deal with every bit of bad PR that comes with that. I think if it's the Rangers, that's crazy.
Yes.
No.
That is a media circus every day. and in a place where you cannot escape it, because the Rangers, even if they're bad, that becomes page one story.
Oh,
in
yeah.
every paper, even on Long Island, News Post, Newsday, all of them are going to be like, hey, here's this guy who was the coach while some really bad stuff was happening in Chicago, who got suspended for years. Yeah, he won some Stanley Cups, but he's here. Cool. Like, I just don't see that working there.
Good.
Now, if you could separate that and the coach, he's a great pick for it, but you can't. Like, you cannot separate that stuff.
Yeah.
It's too much. And what happened in Chicago is too disgusting and awful and heinous, and nobody really got punished for it in actuality. Like, the team didn't. They threw a couple of people under the bus for it. Those guys were already done working in hockey anyways. Like, it was like classic kind of slimy crime nonsense,
Just swept it under the rug. Like nothing happened.
But Anaheim, you've got a GM there in Pat Verbeek who keeps a tight ship, does not really suffer any nonsense. And even though Anaheim is right next to LA, there's nobody who covers the Ducks day to day. Like, Orange County Register doesn't cover them anymore. Even the LA Kings, the LA Times doesn't really cover them at all. So you have no real media coverage in Southern California for any of that. Even the Kings, like, Kings are a great team in the playoffs, and it's kind of like, they're not the Lakers, so they're not the Dodgers, so to hell with them. So if he's going to come back, a place like Anaheim is the perfect fit, because who's going to grill Pat Verbeek about it? Who's going to grill ownership about it? Harry Samueli, like, who's going to be the one to hold their feet to the fire? Maybe it's Eric Stevens, who's at the Athletic, was the Ducks beat guy for years with the OC Register, but I don't know if he's the guy that goes in there to be like, hey, what's going on here? I mean, he's got to manage all three California teams now for the Athletic, because they cut down staff. So it's Anaheim. If it's going to be somewhere, it's going to be Anaheim. But you're going to bring the heat of national coverage to your team and to everybody instantly, and that's a really young team, and no nonsense guys like Radko Gudas, Jacob Trouba. Trouba's a great guy to talk to, but he's going to be like, dude, I just play here, man. Like, I don't have no say in this. They hire the coach, players don't. So, like, it's something that teams should really think over it a lot before even considering it. And once they start considering it, you got to talk to everybody on your team, everybody on your staff, to make sure everybody's on board. Because if you got some people that are like, absolutely not, no, you don't do it. You don't do it, because it's too ugly. It's too much. It's just too much.
All right, Joe. Well, we appreciate you coming on. But before we get you out of here, we'd be remiss not to talk about a little footy here, a little Newcastle, a little Liverpool. So the guys know that Newcastle beat Liverpool in the AFL Cup final. Listen, all credit to Newcastle. They just absolutely smoked Liverpool in the final.
They did.
That's what I was going to say.
They did. They did. They smoked them. There was no question about it. Liverpool were exhausted. They were just coming off whatever. No excuses.
No excuses.
They just looked terrible. They looked terrible.
Okay.
All credit to Newcastle. But the question I had for you was, are Newcastle supporters expecting changes, incoming transfers? Are they expecting Alexander Isak to stick around because Liverpool is kind of interested?
The Isak thing kills me, because he's signed through like 2028.
That doesn't mean anything.
And everybody's like, they got to get him extended. I'm like, I don't know, in like 2 years, I guess, maybe. Like, talk to him then. But everybody's like, oh, no. They got to do it right now. And I'm like,
He can't leave, can he?
what? Like, well, they can if somebody ponies up 500 million for him.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. If someone buys him out, but
Well,
it would take a mammoth offer.
yeah,
And because I know the money, the stupid pay crap, whatever, the money in, money out part of how to run premier teams, which is nobody knows how it makes any damn sense. Because Chelsea spends $2 billion every 6 months, and they're okay. Like, all right, fine, I
Yeah, it
guess.
doesn't make sense.
It's like, well, we sold a couple guys like for $9 billion. I don't think you did, but and they still get rid of the wrong guys. So good work there. But Newcastle, and they've operated like this ever since they got bought by the Saudis, which I hate. Like, let me be very real about that. I treat it very like Michael Bolton on Office Space. Like why should I change? They're the ones who suck. Like, I've been here longer, guys. Get off my ass. But they've operated from the beginning that they know the second they get within a nickel of being over the limit, they'll get docked 100,000 points and sent to National League North, right, and then have to fight their way back up because they know that that's what's going to happen. They haven't punished Man City. They haven't really punished Chelsea. They haven't punished any of these other teams.
115 charges, by the way, for Manchester City, and still it's like crickets.
For what?
Charges sometimes don't seem to stick, Chris, is the thing. But Newcastle knows they'll get the full whack if they get sideways with anything. It's why the guys they sold off before this season, which all sucked to move them, but they had their hand forced to Elliot Anderson and the guy they sent to Brighton, who's having a phenomenal season. Like all these guys where it's just kind of like, would have been neat to hang on to them because they're cheap and whatever, but like if you can sell them for 40 million, then
that's the way to build a team as well. It's not,
well, that's how you get
just
the
like
money.
any
That's how you
sport.
get the money in, so you can so you can spend the money out. But for so long they just didn't have a good academy. They didn't have players you could rent out or sell or anything like that. So they were spending, even under Ashley, they were spending, but nobody was going back out unless it was somebody that they bought before that then they were taking a loss on, selling them, sending them out the door. Although I do remember Liverpool taking on the chin with Andy Carroll years ago.
Yeah,
that was the one time Mike Ashley pulled one over on somebody. That
was a tough one.
Okay, but
who was, by the way,
Genie
playing
Wyndham a couple of years
Andy Carroll,
after
by
that,
the way.
So
Andy Carroll, by the way, playing in the 4th division of the French league at Bordeaux for like no salary at all.
Well, I hear they have wine there, so it sounds like a good living.
It's lovely wine, lovely wine. So what it sounds like is Alexander Isak is going to be at a Liverpool jersey next year. Is kind of what you're telling me.
If you meant Real Madrid, then yeah, I guess. But yes, or Barcelona. There's another team that fakes money constantly. So, but they're not in England, so they don't seem to follow under the same rules, I guess. But
apparently not.
But there's a couple of names that have popped up recently. Like there's a guy on Ipswich, whose name came up, who was the one guy who seemed to give a crap in their game over the weekend against Newcastle. His name's popped up, but like they kind of have to moneyball it. Like they have to spend on younger guys who look promising and then hope Eddie Howe can coach him up, get through to him, do whatever. And full marks to him. He's pulled the right switch on just about everybody.
Yeah, he's done wonderful.
And the only guy he didn't was Chris Wood, and then Chris Wood became God as soon as they sent him to Forest.
Apparently, yeah. Great. Joe, we appreciate your time tonight. Continued success, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, no, always good to talk to you boys. We gotta find a way to get everybody out to the baseball stadium or something. Meet up in Syracuse or Rochester or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Get out on the road and take in a game, and it's like the old days.
Absolutely.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds like a plan.
Sign me up.
And that was Joe Yerdon, alum, Oswego State University, just like us. And you got to check out his Substack. It is excellent. Noted Hockey by Joe Yerdon. That was fun. Joe gave us a good update on the Sabres and how displeased their, fan base is. And of course, they stink.
Shocking, of course,
They just stink. Again, for 14 straight years.
Like you said, they're the Jets of the NHL. The football Jets of the NHL.
That's right. The football Jets. You got to clarify with that.
Yes.
The hockey.
Otherwise, they'd be like, wait a second. Aren't the Jets in the playoffs? Don't want to confuse those two.
Do not.
It's tough. I thought being a Rangers fan was hard enough, but Sabres. Oof.
Dude,
Yeah, man.
that's too bad. It
I feel
really is
bad.
because
Yeah.
I mean, he brought up Lindy Ruff was, he was the coach when we were in college. Man, they were good.
They
They
were
were
really
really good
good.
back
They
then.
were good.
That was must-see TV back in the day. But
Dominic Hasek and net.
oh, dude, yeah, absolutely fantastic teams. But
It's
man,
amazing.
it's,
It's
it's
amazing.
amazing.
It's amazing he decided to come back there and be like, yeah, I could turn this thing around.
It took him half a season to be like, what in the heck did I just get myself into?
Exactly. I don't see him lasting there not much longer. I'd be shocked
I,
if he's there another year.
yeah, maybe another year. I mean, if they get off to a good start next year, I think he sticks around. And I mean, they were close this year. I mean, they were close.
Yeah, I mean they came back, but last year was their year. Last year was the year that they should have made the playoffs,
Yeah.
and they had a good run, and they didn't get over the hump, and this year they went the other way again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
That fan base though, not just that between the Sabres and the Bills. I mean,
Oh man.
they
Just
they
suffering.
really deserve a title
Yeah. No, they do.
ASAP.
They really do.
Just
Yeah.
can you
I've been rooting for the Bills for the last couple of years,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna lie. Every time they lose, I just chuckle. Not in a bad way, and I'm not in like a ha ha you guys suck way type of way. It's just kind of like they did it again. You know what I mean? Like
These
it's
poor
just like
people.
it's just like, oh my God, they did it again. Like
It's too bad, man, because these Bills teams have been really good the last few years, like really
yeah.
good.
I mean, they're drafting well and they're bringing in some good players, so
Yeah, they
hopefully
are.
that'll help them. But
But you know
the
what?
Chiefs are in the way
Dude,
constantly.
I mean, you've got Patrick Mahomes, you've got Lamar Jackson, you've got Joe Burrow, I mean, it's like the entire AFC is like so stacked and like they
Yeah.
just can't get over that hump.
So many good quarterbacks in the
So
AFC.
many good quarterbacks, not like the Giants.
Like
Although,
Jackson Dart, baby.
listen,
Here we go.
I gotta say, okay, and the whole Shadir Sanders thing is just crazy, but Jackson Dart has got to have the best name for a quarterback in the NFL now.
I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good
Right?
name.
I
Yeah.
mean, he's throwing darts, baby.
Yeah. Speaking of Shador Sanders, I mean, you guys obviously heard about the prank phone calls. Do you know
Yeah.
did you guys know whose son was in charge of that, right?
Yes,
Jeff
yes.
Ulbricht's son. Like, dude,
What are
secure
you
your
doing?
phone.
Dude,
What
I
are you
mean-
doing? And your son picked it up, and I mean, first of all, your son's that if I was him, I would beat the crap out of him because like he's 21 years old, man. When I was 21, I did some stupid things, but I'm sorry, if my dad was a coach in the NFL and had phone numbers to players,
Dude,
and I
yeah.
called these players when I was 21 and pranked them on the trip, my dad would have whooped me. Still,
But you know what?
like,
You know what? That video, man, it's getting hits, baby.
I saw the one. I saw the one today where they prank Isaiah Bond. He was the receiver from Texas.
Yeah, they pranked a few
And
people.
he had transferred from Alabama to Texas. So last year he was on Texas. The year before he was in Alabama. At the end of the call, the kid goes, "Roll Tide," and I think he was so confused he didn't know what to do because he was playing in Texas last year. But he goes, "Yeah, Roll Tide." I was like, "Oh no."
Yeah, and you know what that kid's name is? Jax. You know a kid that is named Jax, he's going to be getting into a lot of trouble, right? I mean,
But he wasn't the one making the calls.
yeah, but he was part. I mean, he got the
he was
numbers.
he gave his buddy the numbers and his buddy made the calls.
Dumb. This is
Yeah.
stupid. What are you doing?
I want to see what kind of punishment the NFL puts down for this.
What are
They're
they
not
gonna
going to do much.
What
They'll
can they
they'll
do?
probably fine him. They'll fine him for like losing information and for something like that. I don't know.
It's just crazy. It's just stupid. The whole thing is stupid. Anyways, I guess that'll wrap it up then, right? For this
Okay.
episode of the Throwing Bagels Pod. Do you have something more, Kevin? Do you want to add
No.
anything there? You're
I
good.
have nothing
All
to
right.
add.
You have nothing. You have nothing to add. Do you have any draft
Did
thoughts at all?
Did you see Kevin's new snazzy hat though?
Yeah, I don't like it. Actually, you know what? This one's not bad. Actually, I don't mind this one. I don't, and you'll have to put it up on the socials, Kevin. Like
Yes.
this one's not bad. I don't mind that.
Do you like
The
this
other
one better
one?
than the gray one?
The gray and the black and the purple, that's stupid. I don't like that one.
So
I don't
this
like
has
that
got
at
the purple outline and
Yeah.
the NY and
Is it a black letters?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a black lid, like a black, it's not bad. I don't mind that one.
You said it was awful.
No, I
Chris,
I
when it's
said the other one was awful. I
Oh,
I
should
said it was
did.
awful. I said
He
it was
said-
awful.
Hamo
Okay.
said it was awful. He said, "Yeah, get those out of here." He didn't want anything to do with them.
Yeah. I said it was awful.
I'll wear the other awful one next time.
All right, good. Kevin poo-pooed our comments, by the way. Poo-pooed
Yeah.
Like,
He did not like
poo-poos.
them.
No. I said, sucks to be you guys. I
Yeah.
like him.
Hey, you're the one wearing it. So I hope you like it.
Listen,
Exactly.
to each their own. I mean, look at me tonight. I've got Liverpool all over the place here. I've got my Costa Tsimikas jersey on, baby.
I don't know.
Up the Reds.
I had no idea.
Up the Reds.
You lost me at Liverpool.
Guys stink.
Same here.
And that'll
Him and
do
Ja-
it for another episode of the Throwing Bagels podcast.
You say Liverpool, I say, oh, Tully's, right?
Yeah. You can catch us on all the socials. You can email us, throwingbagelspodcast@gmail.com. And be sure to check out my latest blog as well.
Yes.
Little recap of the trip to the motherland. Check that out. It was a lovely trip. Got to learn a lot about history for where my parents are from in Larissa, Greece, which is the capital of Thessalia in Greece. So wonderful.
Now I want to go to Greece now.
Dude.
That made me want to go, Chris. Your
Yeah,
What
blog
part of
sucks.
Greece was it in? Like, where in Greece is it?
So Thessalia, Larissa, the city of Larissa is actually in the middle of Greece. It's about an hour and a half south of Thessaloniki and about 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours north of Athens.
Okay.
So it's,
Athens
it's
is the only
like
one I
just
understand it. You said.
So Thessaloniki is the second largest city in Greece. So it's in the
Oh, is
northern
it?
part of Greece.
Oh, look
yeah.
at that. Who knew?
So yeah, it's about halfway between the two cities. It's towards the east coast, about an hour from the ocean, and it's probably about 40 minutes or so from Mount Olympus. So at Mount Olympus,
That's
you can
pretty
see it. It's when on a clear day, it just takes up the entire landscape. It's absolutely beautiful.
That's awesome.
Snow capped, just gorgeous. It's as if like you would be in like Seattle and checking out Mount Rainier, which is 2 hours away. Same idea. Just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, no, yeah, I would recommend for anyone to go to Greece.
I definitely want to go to Greece.
Yeah,
I'll do it one day
you will.
when I win the lottery.
Yeah, the summertime's a little expensive if you own the islands too, so a little pricey. But yes, so check out the blog, and that'll do it.
Hi.
Thanks for tuning in. Up the
Adios.
Reds.